kind of like in a weird legal gray area, but it started messing up our PayPal for Prism. We're like, wait. Let's like, no, we got to stop this. Like,
and so we just like stopped the site.
We can't let this small little passion project. It's Tom.
It's Jake.
You already know.
It's pretty spot on. All right, ready?
All right, we are back for another quick take.
Are we?
I think so. Yeah, we're recording.
Cool.
Yeah, so I think with today's episode, it'd be really cool to kind of dive into some of the biggest business failures, because naturally as an entrepreneur, you come up with ideas and some of them don't work out. And I think I want to be just forthcoming. Some people I feel like kind of put up a facade of like, oh, everything's working out fine. And I mean, naturally things do, peter out or don't work. And I think this would be cool to like actually be like very honest about what didn't work and what we learned from those,
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of businesses and things take off and work and be successful, but we've had things that haven't, whether it's kind of like been because it just wasn't a good idea, or we just didn't put the right effort forth and really give it the attention it needed. I feel like we have some good insight to share on some of the, things that didn't work out, because like, I think from the outside looking in, it's like, everything he or Tom has ever done or touched has just worked and been phenomenal. And there's been some things that haven't, or things that like we wanted to do, but like haven't even tried yet. Not that that's a failure, but I think there's like three? I think
three come to mind.
Yeah, that really come to mind and stand out of like, yeah, this didn't really work out. So
yeah, I guess just to kind of kick it off, timeline wise, if we're to look at a top down of everything that we've done from our shooting career, definitely on like in 2017, we started and launched Tropicolor.
Yeah.
And in doing that, we kind of touched on it in earlier episodes. That like sparked, I think, our entrepreneurial spirit. Mind you, I never went to business school. I don't think either did you. I mean, we both went to film school. So but seeing the success of Tropic over the course of a year, come 2018, we were like, wow, this is doing really well. While not to say that was on autopilot, definitely required a lot of work, but we're like, what else can we do that's in this space? And I think the first one that comes to mind is an idea of selling aerial stock footage on, which I found out was an available domain. I just bought Air Real Stock. And it was basically, the idea of this was basically an e-com site where kind of like Artlist or Epidemic, where you could find music. We wanted to build and curate a drone stock photography site. Yeah,
or video, stock video and photo. But I think that where that idea really spawned from was, basically an instance I had as a director and editor on like a motion twist video. And that's kind of like where it really, really spawned from. Is we shot this video in New York and they wanted an aerial shot of New York. And at this point, I don't even think really ArtGrid wasn't around. There was a lot of these stock footage sites
like Pond 5.
Yeah, a lot of these stock footage sites weren't around, but it was such a limited pool. And like for a 10-second clip of something that wasn't even like the nastiest shot ever was $500. And they had to cough over $500 for me to buy this clip to put for like 5 seconds at the beginning of the video.
It was
with
like
a title.
New York shot, right?
New York shot, skyline. Title, boom, done, $500. And I just remember thinking like, if creators want to be able to like get a dope aerial stock footage shot for their YouTube video, music video, whatever, like they can't, like a lot of people don't have $500 to spend. Like I didn't. Or if I did, I didn't want to spend $500 on a simple clip. And drones still at this point, they were new and the Phantoms were out, and
I think it kind of sparked this idea for the company, because those DJI Phantom 4 was kind of big on the scene. Our friends had them.
We had two friends that had drones. And so we had this idea of like, there is not a site specifically dedicated to just curated aerial stock footage. And the aerial stock footage that is out there on other stock sites are either trash or they're $500 to $1,000 a clip.
Yeah.
And so it was like, let's build a platform of just highly curated, dope aerial stock footage for like $25, $50 a clip, or whatever it was that we were going to do.
And the initial idea was to like use our own stock footage that we had because we, funny enough, actually like me and you funded it, like a trip out to Hawaii with our friends who had drones. Funny enough, upon getting there, one of our friends' drones just like didn't work.
This guy just keeps coming up in all of these stories of just
all good. We're nameless, but anyway, so like we like use that as like the pilot program, no pun intended, to like have all this footage to like launch the site with, and then use that footage that we shot in Hawaii, which is some great like waterfall stuff, nature stuff, all shot on our buddy's Phantom 4, which at the time was like one of the flagship DJI drones. But anyway, so long story short, I have all this footage and building an e-commerce site that like has, mind you, like, I'm DP at the time and I'm like not really knowing how to do servers and like the thing where like, I know how to have like backend stuff, but like to have backend for like tons of footage, I had to like make a log cut down, a Rec 709 cut down, 4K uploads. I wanted to build the site to where like when your mouse hovers over the shot, the drone shot starts to play so the viewer can like, and like doing all that just was like with on top of like Tropic already having so much success and continuing to have success, it just kind of kept getting pushed to the back burner.
And we're still trying to shoot, direct, we're still trying to do all that stuff and do this. And so it's not, I still personally think the idea is a brilliant, great idea personally, but at the time, we just did not give it the dedication it needed, nor did we really have the knowledge to really build it out the way it needed. That's like one of those ideas in businesses where you kind of stop everything and you put your focus all in on this thing. You build a platform, you source the footage, you go shoot the footage, you get like that becomes your life, just like how Prism ended up becoming our life for a while, like and to really get that thing going.
It just, the idea was there, but it didn't like, because Prism, I think, just like consumed us. We were so excited about it. And we like definitely, I even put like DPing kind of on pause for a bit to get that going. And like, I don't know, the drone thing just didn't really like pull us away enough to like give it. And I'll be honest, like we just didn't give it enough attention. I would like, crack at it for a week and then it would kind of sit around and, it never really popped off. And I eventually we ended up just kind of taking some of that footage and selling on Tropicolor and have had success with that. But just building a whole, as I later found out working funny enough with the Warrior Poet Society, I know it's a little bit different, but he was even speaking to like having to build out that whole online platform was incredibly expensive.
Yeah, it's like for the app and website and everything, it was like, I don't know, $100K or...
And not to say it'd be that much, but like to do a full website build, even working with our agency to build out our websites for Tropic and Prism, like that took so much time and energy and effort from like so many creatives. So like to try and take that on ourselves while also juggling everything else, I think we saw that like, oh wow, we can build a Squarespace site for Tropic and like that was pretty manageable, but we I think bit off a little more than we could chew and like it just ended up not working out.
It just didn't work out because we didn't have the bandwidth, we didn't give it our full attention. I still think if you were to take that idea today and really build a team around that idea,
because there currently isn't just a solely drone stock footage.
So whoever's out there listening, like you just got an idea, go run with it. But
I'm still in the domain, so F y'all.
We still got the domain, so if you want that name, you're gonna have to come through us.
Aerialstock.com.
Aerialstock.com. Great idea, but just didn't work out. But we kind of pivoted and we sell a lot of that stock footage on Tropicolor now under our stock section, and we'll continue to build out that stock packs, and we got some cool stuff on there.
Yeah, 100%.
Just kind of a slight pivot. Still offer some of that stuff on there, and that was kind of a failure. You know what I mean?
Just didn't really take off the way we wanted to. And honestly, with anything, like we just put our energy and bandwidth elsewhere, and we put it into the stuff that was making us more money. And we just sort of let that one kind of fade away.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes back to like you said, like it didn't really draw us fully in where we're like, yo, we want to do this and consume it. Like there was nothing that like super excited us. And that's what like I always talk about, like get into what it is you want to get into for the right reasons, because you like it, you love it.
Shouldn't feel like a job.
It's enjoyable. You don't want it to feel like a job or something that you're not interested in.
Doing all those cut downs, learning about servers and AWS, which is like an Amazon server. I was like, dude, this, I want to go back. I was like, also like having to like, yo, I can't, hey, you want to DP this job? Oh, actually, I'm taking this week off to like work on this website. I was like, I don't want to be doing this. You know what I mean? So And funny enough, that was kind of around August 2018. And mind you, November 2018, we launched Prism. So like at that moment, we were itching for like a new idea or a new product. And it just basically, Prism ended up being the thing that took off and went to the moon. And, it just was at that moment, that whole kind of fall or at Q4 of 2018, that's when we were thinking about making the film accessory.
Film pack.
I was like learning how to, we were just trying to like find the next thing because Tropic was definitely doing pretty good. And the Prism ended up being that thing.
And so something we are doing now is we do have a small team working on a stock site. It's called Film Freedom. So go follow us there. We haven't posted anything. We're not live yet, but we are building out right now a stock film platform that is just highly curated. That's more affordable and it's less like, I think we'll have multiple options because right now on these stock sites, it's pretty much like a subscription and that's it. Like ArtGrid, you subscribe for the year and there's not like, you can't just like, I need this one clip. I just want to buy this one clip. And so we're working on building it out where like, cool, you can subscribe, but also you could just like, if you need $25 to buy this one clip, $50, whatever, I don't know, whatever it is. So we are building it out, Film Freedom. Go check it out, search it. But hopefully 2022 at some point. We don't really have a release date yet, but just slowly working on that.
I mean, that's also just a testament to like how long these builds take. I know the guy we partnered with is just building it. It's taken him like, it's his full-time gig. He's been doing that for like months. You know what I mean?
No, that's a good point. Like this guy we partnered with who we're teaming up with on it, it's just, that is literally his life right now. It's just building that thing out and it's taking a long time and whatnot. So, but yeah, that is Aerial Stock.
I think the next sort of like business L or thing that just didn't pan out was one of our locations. Naturally, like, so we've in previous episodes you touched on like Honeymoon Hideout and the Eclectic West Desert, 40-acre desert. Those were having great success. And this is also like after we opened the Barracks, which is like a warehouse, LA location, like grungy warehouse. We were kind of like, like you said, like
Cloud9.
Well, you like what kind of made you get Eclectic West was like the fact that Honeymoon was popping off.
Right.
And right after Barracks started to really pop off, we like back to back got the Lodge, got Bubblegum. And mind you, these are just kind of the monikers or names for these spaces. And Bubblegum was sort of like a loft kind of space with white walls, cement floor, and it was like a photography studio. Very small, probably 2,000 square feet, maybe even smaller. And our ideas of the space was to make it kind of like a very colorful pop, sort of like, bright colored walls. We'd had like a projector where you could project cool things.
We got someone knocking on our door right now. No, just keep going. No. Okay.
Might need to take a little pause.
All right. We're going to take a quick pause and we'll have our sponsors give a little word here and we'll be right back.
So today's sponsor is Storyblocks and Squarespace. The number one...
No. We don't have any sponsors yet. We're not big enough.
But we do have a couple companies we could probably let them know about. I know Tropic Color, our digital asset company, if you use TJ, Tom and Jake, so TJ20, I think you can get 20% off.
And then Prism, I think if you use TJ10, you could get 10% off.
Wow.
So Prism Lens Effects, Tropic Color. Yeah, have fun.
Cool.
Go crazy. And we're back.
And we are back. So yeah, kind of we were seeing the success with some of the other locations and we're like, yo, run it. Now, let's get the next one. And yeah, like Aerial Stock, I think we bit off a little bit more than we could chew in the sense that we got a location that I just think it just didn't really end up working out for a multitude of reasons, which mind you, I think a lot of these things have silver linings, which I want to touch on. Like the things you learn, like in the wake of something that's horrible, it's often you're like, oh my God, this is like the worst thing ever. Something's not working out. But I do think you kind of walk away with knowing what failed. So it sets you up for success in the next time. And that location over the course of the year that we had it just didn't really quite fire the way that we thought it would,
Yeah, it didn't quite fire the way we thought it would. But I also don't think we gave it like the attention that we gave the other ones. And I think it was a mixture of like, I don't think what we did in the space was the best.
We had some cool ideas, but just...
Yeah. And it just didn't get quite there. We got spread a little too thin, which didn't allow us to fully like really invest and dedicate time to it. And then, with it not really doing that well, we didn't want to like invest time and money into it. So
like
we just
build new
kind of,
sets and stuff.
so we kind of just basically broke even / maybe lost a little bit.
The money the location would make on like Peerspace and Gigster would usually kind of cancel out the money it cost us to operate and run it and rent. So it wasn't like a huge financial L, but it definitely just didn't like do what the numbers weren't what the other ones were.
The silver lining though, we probably used it 3 or 4 times for our own productions.
100%.
For Prism, Tropic, a couple different things, mainly Prism lens effects. And we did a bunch of shoots in there. So it's like at the end of the day, we had people kind of paying for our space to use for promotions that we were doing and using. And so it wasn't like a total wash and waste, but we have since gotten out of that lease and we've moved on. And
I think the thing that we learned, and anyone listening who's kind of maybe like, oh man, like maybe thinking about opening a location, like the thing I think we learned was we made a location, that one, that was I think very similar to existing locations, to where obviously like when you're entering and you already have competition, coming up with an idea, for the sake of this argument, if I wanted to make a new pickup truck, I'm going up against Ford, Chevy. It's like, what am I going to do that's going to come into the space and disrupt it? And like, I feel like that studio, having that idea, it wasn't anything too, in our heads, like, oh, it'll be like new and original. It just was so similar to other things that were in its proximity, which mind you, photography studios in Los Angeles there's an abundance of them. So like, it wasn't that it was a bad idea. It was just entering something that was already heavily saturated. And that's, I think, the thing we learned the hard way was like, dang, like this isn't booking out because like there's so many of these other little like photography lofts. So we basically, mind you, now being on the other end of it, took all the things we, props, lighting, and put those back into the locations that are already making us good money.
Right. So yeah, that was kind of a L a little bit, you know what I mean? Didn't work out fully. But everything else is going good with all the other locations. Are great. So yeah.
Speaking of location, this wasn't an L, but it was definitely, I think, a hindsight like bullet dodge. We almost
Hardison House.
We almost bought like $1 million ghost house.
Yeah, $1 million ghost house. So I stumbled across this house. And I brought it up to Tom. Tom was like, yo, I want to get in on this. We went and saw it. We loved it. We're like, bro, this is insane. It was in not Ojai, Santa Paula. And we were in the process of buying this house. We were going through, kind of escrow and everything. And ultimately, for whatever reason, like our loan was like not getting approved because it was like a historic house that needed, it was like some weird BS stuff. And ultimately, like, it's not that, like, it fell through, you know what I mean? And it's not.
That happens actually. Even like buying normal houses.
But it wasn't like we bailed on it. We were trying to actively get it. And like, it just, the pieces weren't aligning. And then the loan officer, and it just fell through.
I think the things that, and mind you, I think it totally worked out for us. That's why it's not a failure. It was just something that we were trying to do. And we were just talking about a location that didn't work. Like, going into that was such a huge undertaking, kind of like the Jesse episode where like I felt like we were kind of a little out of our element on that one. Like there was so much, like where that was a video where we were like, oh man, like how do we navigate this? I felt like, we knew how to like set up a warehouse or a vintage sort of property and make it work, right? But this was like a massive 4-structure property that like, mind you, was like a historic building. It was right next to a fire zone, which I think was part of the loan being declined. The bank's like, yo, there was a massive fire that burned all the way up to that hill right there. We don't want to insure this house, or we don't want to lend you the money because this is like in a fire zone. So it just did not work out. But
funny enough, this is a wild story, but a guy did end up buying it and got it for like $100,000 less than what we were going to get it for.
Yeah.
At this point, they had been trying to sell the house for a couple of years, and they're probably just like, after our offer then fell through or whatever happened, they're probably just like, F it. When this guy got it for like $100K cheaper. But anyways,
and he wanted to do the same thing. He wanted to do renting.
Kind of. He had it in his mind, but he wasn't for sure, but he definitely was wanted to do that. And then funny enough, the guy that went to install the Wi-Fi at the property, once he was like moving in, followed me and thought he was coming to the house to set up Wi-Fi for me. And so he goes, and this guy answers the door and he's like, oh, like, are you the owner of this property? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, I thought this guy, Jacob Owens, bought it. He's like, oh no, their deal offer fell through. And he just started chatting with him about it. He's like, oh yeah, I follow him. He's like killer filmmaker. He has a bunch of film locations. Sure. And the guy was like, well, what's his number? And so the guy, he gave him my number. The guy called me and he was just like, I want you to run this location. So we do still actively like run the location. We do book it out. Shoots do go down there. So if you want to rent it out, we do have access to it, but now, you know, we're not have to pay a mortgage on
it's
it.
Like, it's like literally, that's what I'm saying. Like in the moment when the house fell through and, you know, our realtor was like, hey, it's not going to work. I was like, we were bummed, like especially all that time and effort of driving out there, planning it and stuff. But, you know, like everything has a silver lining. Like we realized that like, hey, this actually worked out because we can still use it for our own shoots, but we don't have to pay a mortgage. We shot
a nostalgia Prism Lens Effects promo day there. Yeah. We've done, we have this idea for a Mirror Man short film and feature film that we want to shoot there. But yeah, again, like we still have, it's under the BN Locations moniker. Like you can go rent it still and we have access to it. And so it's just crazy how like the stars aligned on that part. It literally just kept coming back to us over and over and over. So, that's just a kind of
funny story about that house. I remember like talking to the guy who eventually bought it jokingly when we were shooting the Prism shoot there. I was like, hey, like any crazy ghost stories? He's like, oh yeah. Like the other night, like I was sleeping and like I had a very vivid dream that like a ghost dragged me down this hallway. I'm like, oh, you're playing. He's like, no, it was very scary. I was like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't buy this house. You know? He lives there. Like we wanted to just like own it and then like literally have a site rep unlock it and let crew shoot, then lock it and then leave. He like legit lives there. So kudos to that guy. Like
no, I could not live there.
The house is, I mean, mind you, for anyone listening, this house was built in the 1890s, was like a gold mining house, or like there was gold mining in the air. So like, or I think the guy was actually like a big railroad.
Oil. It was oil.
Some sort big tycoon bought this. I mean, it was a mansion. You know what I mean? Like 8 bedrooms.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But anyways, so that was not a failure, but something that fell through. And I think the reason I mentioned it is because like, we were very open on Instagram of like, we just bought a house. Like we very much announced that we got this thing. Yeah. And then it kind of fell through. So like it wasn't a failure, but it's definitely something that like kind of didn't work out.
Yeah. No, 100%. But
and then I think another one that we definitely outwardly mentioned that we were starting. Funny enough, even on set, people were like, oh, hey, like, how's your coffee company? And I get asked that a lot, actually, or a couple times. Like,
maybe we'll bring it back eventually, but we kind of ran into the same issue that I think we did.
How do we set this up? So, basically, we drink coffee. I think anyone listening, anyone who actually
right here, coffee.
Anyway, so we found this company in Arizona that, because people were asking, oh, like you guys are roasting your own beans. And I think it is worth mentioning if we're just kind of like, if this episode was kind of like us just sharing and being very transparent, we were going to partner with a local Arizona company,
local roaster,
that were roasters. I mean, for us, the idea of me and Jake roasting beans would just be ludicrous. Like we have so much going on. We went over there. We tried several blends. We like kind of made our own blend with a combination of things. Yeah. And they were going to basically roast them and package it.
So we sent our packaging to them. We selected the beans. They would roast them, put it in the package, send it back to us. And so we partnered with them, and we had this one blend that we called Call Time. And
it's gonna be like kind of like, because naturally, like when you go on a film set, your call time is 6 a.m. and it's a 12 or 14 hour day. Naturally, you're exhausted. And coffee sometimes is kind of like the thing that it gets you through those long days, right? So we're like, that was kind of like our twist on it. It's like, I mean, coffee is coffee, but like, how can we put like our filmmaking brand on it, and your brand being called Buff Nerds, or, you know, basically calling it like Buff Beans. And like, we had a lot of really great ideas for it. And it was just one of those things where like our attention was being pulled to Prism and to Tropic. And we did launch and build an e-com site. We did like a really cool commercial product shoot for it. I think the thing that actually ended up kind of making it really not quite work is our old friend, or your current friend, but like old roommate of yours. Like we had like CBD that was coffee flavored that like kind of made the site not work.
I think if we wouldn't have done that, we'd still be kind of doing it on a low level today. But what happened is we got CBD oil made, because I take CBD oil from time to time. And so we had, you know, Buff Beans CBD oil. So we launched on the website, you know, our Buff Beans Call Time, the CBD. And then we got like some notification from Squarespace, like PayPal, like this site has been like not banned, but like closed down due to the sale of like illegal substances. And it was like, yo, this isn't weed. Like, and it just kind of put a real damper on everything we're doing. And we were so busy with Prism, Tropic, all the studios, like, and just shooting, directing. And like, it was just kind of like, this is too much.
To start a business too, for anyone listening, we might do a deep dive later on like the kind of business 101, like the things we learned, like hard knocks, like, but like when you start a business, there's a lot you have to go through red tape. You have to form an LLC. So like you literally have to be like seen as an entity to open up the bank account to actually get money in the account. So like if you like, say someone buys our coffee, right? Where does that money go? It can't go to my account because now it's like reported income for me or vice versa for you. It needs to go to this separate bank account. But to open that bank account, you need to get an LLC. So you have to go through all that red tape. So at the time of buying all this coffee and CBD and stuff, we didn't have an LLC. So we're like, oh, we'll just run all that money through Tropic or Prism, since actually I think through Prism, since we have the fulfillment center here. And our Prism PayPal got flagged. It was like, yo, like you can't take payments on PayPal anymore because PayPal saw CBD. They did not know it was THC free, or they didn't care. They're like, oh, this is like a drug or whatever. I mean, I guess CBD is kind of like in a weird legal gray area, but it started messing up our PayPal for Prism. We're like, wait. Let's like, no, we got to stop this. Like,
and so we just like stopped the site.
We can't let this small little passion project coffee thing that we were just doing for fun. I mean, we were going to give like some of the proceeds to like different like charities.
Yeah, like arts organizations and charities. Local
this wasn't going to ever be like, I mean, I think our ideas of it, like this wasn't like, oh, get rich quick. It was just like, we love coffee and I think this would be cool.
We love coffee, drink it every day. We know all our filmmakers do. Good cause, a little bit of money of every sale.
But it just started messing up our operations here. And
so it started messing up the operations here, and we just kind of like, yo, stop this. So
we never got around to figuring it out.
And then we just never got around to figuring it out because we got busy. So I think at some point we can come back to that. We still have all the coffee bags and everything.
I think we literally have like 1,000 vials of CBD oil. So in the comments below if you want. No, I'm just kidding.
So I mean, at some point that could come back. We also just need to bring someone on to kind of just help manage and run that. We had Anna that was going to do a lot of the back end, but I think we need one more person that can just help with fulfillment, maybe some Instagram stuff, whatever, because we do so much different things.
That's like what I think anyone listening, because I've got this asked a lot, I was like, wait, how do you guys do all this stuff and still work on like your film stuff? And, you're actively doing Steadicam, you're actively directing. And it's like, how do you do these things, but also manage all this stuff? And case in point, I think some of these failures that we've kind of been talking about were from not really having a good infrastructure of bandwidth of time or people to run it. And when our attention gets pulled elsewhere naturally, which will happen as we continue to work and like, grow Tropic and Prism, which I think are our two like pillar companies. It just pulled us away. And like, naturally, if you don't water a plant, it's going to die. That was kind of what we realized with these other things. So we definitely have kind of slowed our roll on like opening new, like we were kind of on a frenzy, like new location. And like, I think right now we've kind of like, we've settled, like we've got BN Locations is doing great. I feel like Prism and Tropic are doing great. And we're just like focusing on those plants, so to speak, and growing those, opposed to trying to plant too much and like having everything die. You know what I mean? So,
and I still got a few other things I want to do. You know what I mean? Like I want to open like a little food truck restaurant thing here. And we do have the infrastructure in place with like Anna and Big Mark, who's like, but like if I didn't have those people that could like chef and know the food industry and all that stuff, like I would be out of my gourd trying to like get this thing off the ground. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't happen. The same thing with it. And I think once we get like maybe Derek and Lauren here and we can revisit the coffee thing and bring them onto like, you just need the proper people, infrastructure in place to not spread yourself too thin. And granted, if we weren't doing Tropic, Prism, shooting, the locations, all the studios, etc., the Buff Beans thing would be no problem. So it's like we just overextended and didn't have the proper people in place to fully delegate into the roles that we needed to water those plants when we couldn't water them. And that's really what it kind of came down to. So those are I think those are our three kind of biggest failures. I just think naturally, kind of even like circling back to our episode where we talked about crazy set stories or our worst days ever, you're going to have those highs, you're going to have those great days, and you're going to have those days that were trash or crap. And naturally as a business, you're going to have businesses that thrive. And I thought this would just be a cool opportunity. Like, hey, look, not all of them thrived. Like some of them did fail. And I think we kind of like learned from them. But I think that kind of closes out this episode. What do you think? Yeah, I think so. I don't think there's really.
Did we want to make this episode the YouTube giveaway?
Yeah, we could do that.
So
we could do that.
In a previous episode, we kind of did a call to action just for anyone who's digging the podcast to go in the comments of the Apple Podcast app, leave a star rating, a review, and we've mailed out or are about to mail out the winner. So we want to do the same
master bundle, which is
a master bundle from Tropicolor, $4,000 value on a hard drive mailed to you. And we want to do the same thing on YouTube. All you have to do is subscribe to the channel, turn on your bell notification, and show us some love in the comments, right?
Yeah, leave a comment below, and just like really show us some love. And we're gonna pick one comment below, and we'll ship out a master bundle drive. There's no strings attached. It's not like you have to do all this stuff. Just subscribe. Hit that bell noti, leave us a great comment, and we're going to skim through and pick one of you guys to
get your mailing address and send you a master bundle.
Yeah, so it's going to be dope.
Cool.
So I think that wraps up this episode. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit from some of our, past mistakes, failures, that hopefully it gives you guys some guidance if you're thinking about kind of starting a business and things you might need to take into consideration when.
And maybe we'll do more like business oriented episodes, because I in kind of reading the comments like we say we do, and it's actually really cool to get the feedback. I think what kind of makes this podcast a little bit different than your traditional like DP podcast, which they just interview DPs all the time. Like this is a filmmaking podcast, but we dive.
Shade Throne.
Mind you, I listen to those, but it's very one-noted, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm the interviewer and I'm interviewing you. But like, it's kind of cool to have like more of a dialogue. And filmmaking is much more than just being on set. It's like how you can dive into other entities. So I think this is like a cool, maybe a jumping off point. Like if you let us know if you like really enjoy some of the business stuff, because we can maybe do deep dives on like, maybe the things we learned, the hard way from opening LLCs and bank accounts and S corps, and there's a lot.
Yeah, and just getting everything in place from accounting, taxes,
payroll,
just the process of like, employees, shipping, hours, warehouses, renting, leases, and all that crazy stuff. There's a lot. So
we could definitely, if that. It would probably take a lot of work from us to put that together. So let's just, we got to maybe know if the demand is there. So let us know below, like, we'd love that. And we can definitely like try to structure something where we kind of do like a little like business class 101 type episode. So
cool. Well, I think that wraps up this episode. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps. All that good stuff.
But YouTube
giveaway. And,
you already know. We can do it different every time.
All right, guys. Peace.